Ever wondered what secrets lie beneath the surface of history? Today we'll dive into the depths of the historical mystery iceberg, where each layer reveals astonishing stories, forgotten legends, and unsolved enigmas that defy explanation. Now, before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know if you guys enjoyed the video, as it really helps out the channel. Tier 1. Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper remains one of history's most infamous and elusive criminals. His reign of terror in London's East End during the late 19th century left a dark legacy that continues to captivate and mystify. Between August and November of 1888, Jack the Ripper brutally murdered at least 5 women, all of whom were prostitutes living in the impoverished area of Whitechapel. These murders were not only gruesome, but exhibited a disturbing knowledge of human anatomy, as the Ripper often removed organs from his victims. The identity of Jack the Ripper has never been confirmed. Despite numerous theories that have emerged over the years, more than 100 suspects have been proposed, ranging from well-known figures like the Victorian painter Walter Sticker to a Polish migrant or even royalty. Each theory contributes to the complex tapestry of folklore and pseudo-history that surrounds the Ripper case. Jack's victims, known as the Canonical Five, were Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Their murders are linked through a pattern of sadistic violence that suggested a deep-seated animosity towards women. For example, Annie Chapman's body was found with severe mutilations. Her intestines had been placed over her shoulder, and a section of her abdomen was removed, displaying the killer's brutal method of operation. The Whitechapel area during this time was notorious for its squalor and crime, heavily populated by immigrants and plagued by social unrest. This environment, combined with ineffective policing and sensational journalism of the time, created a fertile ground for Jack the Ripper's crimes to shock and horrify the public. The police investigation was hampered by a lack of cooperation between different police forces and the absence of advanced forensic techniques, which prevented the case from being solved. Intriguingly, Jack the Ripper's identity was shrouded in mystery partly due to the cryptic communications possibly sent by him to the police, including letters and notoriously half a human kidney accompanying one such letter. These communications contributed to the growing legend of Jack the Ripper, turning the murderer into a figure of almost mythological proportions. Rono Colony. The Roanoke Colony, often referred to as the Last Colony, is one of the oldest unsolved mysteries in American history. Established in 1587 under the charter from Queen Elizabeth I, the colony was England's first attempt at a permanent settlement in North America. The colony was located on Roanoke Island, off the coast of present-day North Carolina. However, when the colony's governor, John White, returned in 1590 after a delayed supply trip from England, he found the settlement deserted, with no clear indication of the fate of the 115 settlers, including his family and Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. The only clue left behind was the word Croatoan, carved into a wooden post, and CRO into a tree, hinting at a possible movement to the nearby Croatoan Island, home to a friendly Native American tribe of the same name. Despite this clue, subsequent investigations and searches provided no definitive answers. Over the years, multiple theories have emerged regarding the fate of the settlers, including possibilities that they were either assimilated with local Native American tribes, killed, or lost at sea while trying to return to England. Further deepening the mystery, archaeological findings over the years have suggested intermittent European presence in the area post-1590. For instance, a 2012 discovery revealed a map with a hidden wart symbol that might indicate where some colonists could have relocated. Recent archaeological digs have unearthed items like European pottery and weapons in regions around Roanoke Island, which may suggest either continued European activity or that some colonists survived and integrated with the Native Americans. Easter Island. Easter Island, also known as Rapa Nui, is renowned for its monumental statues called moai, which were created by the early Polynesian inhabitants of the island. These statues are believed to represent the ancestors of Rapa Nui people, and stand on ceremonial platforms known as ahu. The island itself, located in the southeastern Pacific Ocean, is a remote volcanic island and was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its rich history and cultural significance. The island was first settled by Polynesians around 1200 CE. According to recent studies, although estimates vary, these settlers developed a complex society and impressive architectural feats despite the island's isolated location and limited resources. Over time, however, The society faced significant challenges, including deforestation, possibly exacerbated by the introduction of the Polynesian rat, which impacted the island's ecosystem. European contact began with the arrival of Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen on Easter Sunday in 1722, which is how the island got its name. Subsequent visits by Spanish and French explorers noted a declining population, which was exacerbated by slave raids and diseases introduced by Europeans. By the late 19th century, the indigenous population had drastically reduced due to these external pressures. The Moai statues themselves are carved from volcanic rock and are notable not only for their size, but also for the intricate way that they were constructed and transported. Legend suggests the statues were moved using mana, or spiritual power, although archaeologists suggest they might have been transported using logs, sledges, and ropes. The eye sockets of the Moai were covered on site and were inset with coral and obsidian during ceremonies to awaken the statues. Nazca Lines. The Nazca Lines, a series of large ancient geoglyphs located in the Nazca Desert of southern Peru, represent one of the most fascinating legacies of the Nazca culture, which flourished between 200 BCE and 600 CE. These remarkable drawings, which include more than 800 straight lines, 300 geometric figures, and 70 animal and plant designs, cover an area of about 450 square kilometers. Their scale is so massive that they are best seen from the air, and they have mystified scientists, historians, and visitors for centuries. The purpose of the Nazca Lines has been the subject of intense debate, and various theories have been proposed over the years. Initially, they were thought to be trail markers or part of an astronomical character used to mark the solstice, as suggested by researchers like Maria Riesch, who devoted much of her life to studying these lines. More recently, some scholars have suggested that the geoglyphs could have had religious or ritual significance, possibly related to water worship in this arid region. This theory is supported by the proximity of the lines to ancient water sources and the depiction of water animals in the geoglyphs. Advanced irrigation systems and aqueducts are indicative of the Nazca's sophisticated engineering capabilities, which allow them to thrive in the harsh desert environment. The construction of the lines involving removing the top layer of rock to reveal the lighter soil underneath, which contrasts with the surrounding terrain. This method also helped preserve the designs through centuries, as the climate in this region is one of the driest on Earth, while little wind and rain to erode the figures. Stonehenge. Stonehenge, located on Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, England, is one of the world's most famous prehistoric monuments, dating back to around 3000 BC. This massive stone circle has captivated scholars and visitors alike, sparking debate and research into its origins and purposes. The construction of Stonehenge occurred in several phases, spanning roughly 1500 years. The earliest structure on the site was a simple earthwork or a henge, consisting of a circular ditch and bank, with iconic sarsen stones and smaller bluestones being added later. The monument's layout includes a ring of standing sarsen stones, each topped with a lintel stone, enclosing a circle of smaller bluestones. Inside these are freestanding trilithons, arranged in a horseshoe shape. The origins of the Stonehenge's builders are still a matter of debate. Early theories suggested it could have been constructed by the Druids or even by extraterrestrial influences, but these ideas have since been debunked. Modern archaeological evidence suggests that the builders of Stonehenge were the indigenous peoples of the British Isles, with possible contributions from groups migrating from continental Europe. DNA analysis indicates that some of these individuals could have had origins as far-reaching as the Mediterranean or Wales. The purpose of Stonehenge is equally mysterious. While initially thought to be a temple or astronomical calculator, more recent theories suggest it served multiple roles. These include functioning as a burial site, a place of healing, a domain of the dead, and a broader ritual landscape as a center for prehistoric chiefdom gatherings. Each theory reflects the complex social and religious practices of Neolithic and Bronze Age populations. Stonehenge's construction and use reflect a society with complex social structures and spiritual life, capable of organizing the labor required to transport and erect stones weighing up to 25 tons. The site aligns with the sun's solstice, indicating a deep understanding of astronomy. The Dancing Plague of 1518. The Dancing Plague of 1518 is a bizarre historical event that occurred in Strasbourg, Alsace, which was then part of the Holy Roman Empire. In July of that year, a woman named Frau Trophia began dancing in the streets without any apparent reason, and her dancing lasted for days. What started with one individual soon escalated as hundreds of other people joined in, dancing uncontrollably for days and weeks. This phenomenon persisted through August, with reports suggesting that many of the dancers died from exhaustion, strokes, or heart attacks due to non-stop movement. Historians and scientists have proposed several explanations for this strange event. One common theory suggests that the dancing was a result of mass hysteria or a psychogenic illness, possibly triggered by the extreme stress and hardship caused by severe famine and diseases affecting the region at that time. Another theory posits that the dancers could have been suffering from ergotism, a condition caused by consuming ergot-contaminated rye. Ergot is a fungus that can produce symptoms similar to those of LSD, including hallucinations and convulsions, which might explain the uncontrollable dancing. Local authorities at the time believed the plague was a result of hot blood and encouraged more dancing to cure the affliction, a method that obviously proved ineffective. It was not until the dancers were taken to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus, who was believed to have the power to curse people with dancing mania, that the dancing subsided. The event has been documented in several contemporary records, highlighting the realness and severity of this epidemic. The Man of the Iron Mask. The Man in the Iron Mask, an enigmatic figure from French history, was imprisoned during the reign of Louis XIV and remains a subject of fascination and speculation centuries later. Historically, he was known as Eustache Daguerre and was incarcerated in 1669, spending several decades in various prisons including the notorious Bastille. The true identity of the Man in the Iron Mask has never been definitely established, leading to numerous theories about who he could be. Among the speculated identities are a valet caught up in a political intrigue, an Italian count named Matteo who had crossed Louis XIV, and even more dramatic rumors suggested he might be the king's twin brother or another close relative. Although these theories lack solid historical evidence and are largely fueled by fictional accounts and romanticized tales. Contrary to popular belief and literacy depictions by authors by Alexandre Dumas and Voltaire, the mask the prisoner wore was not iron but black velvet, and it was not worn all the time, but only occasionally to prevent him from being recognized. This detail points to the sensitive nature of his identity or the information he possessed. The reason for his strict and secret confinement, under orders that he'd be killed if he revealed anything other than his immediate needs, remains a mystery, adding to the aura that surrounds his legend. His treatment in prison was harsh, his needs were barely met, and any semblance of comfort was denied. Voynich Manuscript. The Voynich Manuscript housed at Yale University's Benique Rare Book and Manuscript Library. The Voynich Manuscript, housed at Yale's University Benique Rare Book and Manuscript Library, is a profound historical enigma dating back to the early 15th century. This manuscript is particularly famous for its unique script and bizarre illustrations that no one has yet deciphered, despite the efforts of many expert cryptographers and scholars through the centuries. The manuscript is composed of about 240 pages, although some pages are missing. It features a wide range of illustrations divided into several thematic sections: botanicals, astronomical and astrological charts, biological scenes, cosmological diagrams, and pharmaceutical depictions, accompanied by text in an unknown language that scholars refer to as Voynichese. Each section includes intricate drawings such as unidentified plants, astronomical symbols, and curious diagrams involving human figures, often with elaborate connections between them. Historically, the Voynich manuscript's origins are traceable to Central Europe, specifically Italy during the Renaissance, and it has passed through numerous hands over the centuries. It was once believed to be the work of the English philosopher Roger Bacon. Though this theory has been dismissed due to the manuscript's dating, it first surfaced in recorded history from the collection of Emperor Rudolf II of Germany, who thought it contained secret wisdom worth 600 gold ducats. The manuscript's journey continued through the various owners, including Jacobus Horkiki de Tepanek, and eventually the Jesuit College at Frascati, from which Wilfrid Voynich, a book dealer, acquired it in 1912. Despite the extensive study, the Voynich manuscript remains largely a mystery, fueling theories ranging from it being an elaborate hoax to a genuine yet undeciphered communication. Its script, although bearing structural similarities to known languages, has resisted all cryptographic analysis attempted by both historical and modern scholars. The allure of the Voynich manuscript lies not just in the challenge of its decryption, but also in the rich illustrations that suggest a deep understanding of botanical and astronomical knowledge from its time of creation. Tier 2. Green Children of Woolpit. The Green Children of Woolpit is a captivating legend from the 12th century, originating from the village of Woolpit in Suffolk, England. According to historical accounts, two children, a boy and a girl, appeared mysteriously in the village. What made them particularly remarkable was their green skin and the fact that they spoke an unknown language. The children were discovered by the villagers beside one of Woolpit's wolf trapping pits, dressed in unfamiliar clothing. After being taken in by a local landowner, Sir Richard de Calne, the children initially refused all food except for green beans, which they consumed voraciously. Over time, as they adapted to a normal diet, the green tint of their skin faded. While the boy unfortunately died shortly after their arrival, the girl survived, learned English, and integrated into society. She relayed that they came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a twilight-lit world distinct from our own, suggesting they might have come from an underground or otherworldly realm. Several theories have been proposed to explain the phenomenon of the green children. One suggests they suffer from hypochromic anemia, also known as chlorosis, which could explain their greenish skin tone due to poor diet. Another hypothesis considers them to be Flemish orphans, possibly from a nearby place known as Fornham St. Martin, explaining their strange language as Flemish and the green skin as a symptom of malnutrition. The story has also been interpreted through a folkloric lens, viewing the children as otherworldly beings or fairies from a mystical realm, reflecting medieval beliefs about supernatural occurrences. Others have even speculated about extraterrestrial origins, particularly in modern interpretations, likening the tale to more contemporary descriptions of alien encounters. The Turin Shroud. The Shroud of Turin, a linen cloth that perpetually bears the image of Jesus Christ, has been a subject of intrigue and veneration for centuries. Its origins and authenticity are hotly debated topics among historians, scientists, and theologians. Historically, the shroud first appeared in the historical record around the mid-14th century. It is believed to have been in the possession of the French knight Geoffrey de Charny around 1353 to 1357. It became more widely known after 1357 when it was displayed in Loire, France. Critics such as the Bishop of Troyes argued that the shroud was a painted forgery, a claim substantiated by a memorandum from Bishop Pierre d'Arachis to Antipope Clement VII in 1389, stating that the image had been cunningly painted. Scientifically, the shroud has been the subject of numerous studies. A pivotal investigation in 1978 by the Shroud of Turin Research Project utilized various scientific techniques, finding no evidence of pigments or dyes that would have suggested a painted image. The researchers proposed that the image was created through some kind of oxidation or dehydration of the linen fibers, possibly by an intense but brief burst of radiation. This hypothesis was considered to explain the shroud's 3D imaging qualities and the superficiality of the image, affecting only the topmost fibers. In 1988, radiocarbon dating tests performed independently by labs in Oxford, Zurich, and Arizona dated the shroud to the period 1260 to 1390 AD, suggesting a medieval origin. However, these results have been contested, with some researchers proposing that the samples used might have been contaminated or not representative of the whole cloth. Casper Hower. Casper Hower is one of the 19th century's most perplexing mysteries. He appeared in Nuremberg, Germany in 1828 as a teenager. The backstory that captured the imagination of Europe. Hower claimed to have grown up in the isolation of a darkened cell, with minimal human contact and surviving on a diet of bread and water, sometimes drugged to induce deeper sleep. Upon his discovery, he was barely able to walk or talk, and his physical and mental state suggests a severe long-term deprivation. The intrigue surrounding Hower deepened due to rumors of his possible noble lineage, specifically linking him to the House of Baden. These rumors posited that he might have been swapped at birth with a dying baby to alter the line of succession. Despite various investigations and intense public scrutiny, no conclusive evidence ever verified his claims of royal descent. Throughout his brief period of freedom, Hower's life was marked by mysterious injuries. He reported attacks, including one in which he was cut on the forehead and another involving a stabbing that eventually led to his death in 1833. These incidents, often considered self-inflicted by skeptics, only added layers to the mystery of his identity and past. Scientific examinations over the years, including DNA analysis, have attempted to uncover the truth about Hower's origins. However, these have proven inclusive, leaving his lineage and early life shrouded in mystery. The narrative complexities surrounding Hauser include occasions of him being a habitual liar, which has further complicated efforts to discern the truth. Sea Peoples. The Sea Peoples remain one of the most enigmatic groups in ancient history, stirring debates and intrigue among historians and archaeologists alike. Emerging in the late Bronze Age, around 1200 BCE, the Sea Peoples are often credited with contributing to the collapse of several powerful Mediterranean civilizations, including the Hittite Empire and the Mycenaean civilization and the Egyptian New Kingdom. Their origins are shrouded in mystery, with theories suggesting they might have come from regions as diverse as the Aegean, Anatolia, or even the Western Mediterranean. Accounts of the Sea Peoples primarily come from Egyptian records, particularly the inscriptions and reliefs of Pharaoh Ramses III, who describe their invasions in great detail. The Egyptians referred to them by various names, such as Peleset, Sheker, Shekelish, Denyen, and Washish, each possibly representing different tribes or groups within the broader confederation of the Sea Peoples. These records depict fierce battles on both land and sea, with the Sea Peoples portrayed as formidable warriors equipped with distinctive weaponry and armor, including horned helmets and round shields. One of the most captivating aspects of the Sea Peoples is their sudden and violent appearance in the historical record. They are described as sweeping through the eastern Mediterranean, attacking coastal cities and disrupting trade routes. Their raids and migrations contributed to widespread destruction and the eventual downfall of several established societies. This period of upheaval, known as the Late Bronze Age collapse, saw the decline of major urban centers, a decrease in literacy, and a significant loss of cultural and economic continuity. Archaeological evidence of the Sea Peoples is limited, adding to their mysterious allure. Some sites show signs of abrupt destruction and abandonment, which are attributed to their invasions. Pottery shards, weapon fragments, and remnants of fortifications hint at their presence, but do not provide a clear picture of their origin or ultimate fate. The lack of written records from the Sea Peoples themselves further obscures our understanding, leaving much of their story to be pieced together through the accounts of those they encountered and fought against. Theories about the origins of the Sea Peoples are diverse and often speculative. Some scholars propose that they were displaced populations fleeing environmental disasters, economic hardship, or political turmoil in their homelands. Others suggest they were bands of mercenaries or pirates who took advantage of the weakening states to carve out new territories for themselves. Despite numerous hypotheses, no definitive evidence has conclusively pinpointed their origins or explained their sudden rise to power. Long Man of Wilmington. The Long Man of Wilmington is an enigmatic and colossal hill figure located on the steep slopes of Windover Hill in East Sussex, England. The striking chalk figure, standing at an impressive height of 69.2 meters, depicts a tall, stylized human figure holding a staff in each hand. The origins and purpose of the Long Man of Wilmington are shrouded in mystery, with historians and archaeologists debating its age, creators, and significance. The first recorded mention of the Long Man dates back to the early 18th century, when an antiquarian, John Rowley, made a sketch of the figure in 1710. However, the figure is believed to be much older, potentially dating back to prehistoric times or the early medieval period. Some theories propose that it might be a relic from the Neolithic or Bronze Age, possibly serving as a territorial mark, a religious symbol, or a representation of a deity. Others suggest it could have been created by Saxon settlers or even during the Roman occupation of Britain. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Long Man of Wilmington is its design. Unlike other chalk figures in England, such as the Cerne Abbas giant, the Long Man lacks any facial features or detailed anatomy, giving it an abstract and almost otherworldly appearance. This unique style has led to various interpretations of its meaning. Some scholars believe it represents a guardian figure or a warrior, while others think it could be a depiction of a fertility god or an ancient symbol of strength and protection. The figure's precise and symmetrical form suggests that its creators possessed considerable skill and knowledge in surveying and geometry. The Long Man was originally created by cutting deep trenches into the hillside and filling them with crushed chalk. Over the centuries, the figure has undergone several restorations to maintain its visibility, the most significant being in 1874 when it was outlined with yellow bricks, and later in 1969 when it was restored with white concrete blocks. The Long Man of Wilmington continues to be a focal point for culture and spiritual activities. Pagans and modern druids often visit the site, especially during solstices and equinoxes, to perform rituals and ceremonies. These gatherings highlight the figure's ongoing cultural and spiritual significance in contemporary times. Screaming Mummy. The Screaming Mummy, also known as Unknown Man E, is one of Egypt's most intriguing and mysterious mummies, discovered in 1886 in the Deir el-Bahari necropolis. The mummy stands out due to its unusual and macabre appearance. The face appears contorted in a silent scream, with the mouth agape and the body wrapped in sheepskin. A material considered impure by ancient Egyptians. The stark contrast to the typical elaborate mummification practices has led to much speculation and debate among historians and Egyptologists. One theory suggests that the Screaming Mummy could be Prince Pentawere, the son of Pharaoh Ramses III, who was implicated in a plot to assassinate his father. Historical records from the Judicial Papyrus of Turin describe a conspiracy led by one of Ramses III's wives, Tai, and their son Pentawere. The plot failed, and Pentawere was forced to commit suicide as punishment. This theory is supported by recent CT scans and DNA analysis, which indicate that the Screaming Mummy might indeed belong to someone of royal lineage. The contorted expression of the mummy has fueled various interpretations. Some scholars believe that the facial expression could be a result of the body's position during decomposition, as the jaw might have dropped after death. Others speculate that it could be indicative of a violent or traumatic death, possibly poisoning or suffocation, aligning with the story of Pentaware's forced suicide. Adding to the mystery, the sheepskin wrapping suggests that the individual might have been deliberately denied the traditional burial rites due to their perceived impurity or disgrace, consistent with a punishment for high treason. This type of burial was atypical for someone of royal blood, further emphasizing the unique circumstances surrounding this individual's death. In another twist, there are debates about whether the Screaming Mummy's unusual burial was a mark of dishonor or a reflection of his high status and the dramatic circumstances of his death. The body was found among others in a royal cache, suggesting that despite the unconventional mummification, he was still afforded a place among the elite, possibly indicating a complex narrative of crime, punishment, and posthumous recognition. Princes in the Tower. The Princes in the Tower refers to one of England's most enduring historical mysteries involving the disappearance of two young princes, Edward V and his younger brother Richard, Duke of York, in 1483. The sons of Edward IV were confined to the Tower of London by their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, who was appointed as their guardian after their father's sudden death. Initially, this was supposed to be a temporary arrangement until Edward V could be crowned king. However, the situation took a dark turn when Richard declared the boys illegitimate, seized the throne for himself, and became King Richard III. The last recorded sighting of the princes was in the summer of 1483, after which they vanished from public view, never to be seen again. Their mysterious disappearance has led to some widespread speculation and numerous theories. One prevalent theory suggests that Richard III had them murdered to eliminate any challenge to his rule. Supporters of this theory point to Richard's swift and ruthless consolidation of power, as well as the discovery of two skeletons in the tower in 1674, which some believe to be the remains of the princes. Another theory implicates Henry Tudor, later Henry VII, who defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. According to this theory, Henry might have had the boys killed after he became king to secure his own claim to the throne. Some suggest that other potential perpetrators, such as the Duke of Buckingham, may have acted independently or in a conspiracy with either Richard or Henry. Adding to the complexity, some historical accounts claim that one or both of the princes may have survived, either through escape or a secret rescue. There were several pretenders in the years following their disappearance, most notably Warbeck, who claimed to be Richard, Duke of York. However, these claims were never substantiated. The intrigue surrounding the princes in the tower is deepened by the scarcity of contemporary records and the police turmoil of the time. Chroniclers of the period such as Sir Thomas More and later Shakespeare have shaped much of the narrative, but their accounts are often viewed with skepticism due to potential biases and the dramatic license taken. Gil Perez. The tale of Gil Perez is a captivating historical mystery that has perplexed scholars and intrigued the public for centuries. According to legend, Gil Perez was a Spanish soldier stationed in Manila at the governor's palace in 1593. On October 24th of that year, following a taxing duty during a period of significant political turmoil after the assassination of Governor Gomez Perez das Marinas by Chinese pirates. Perez reportedly felt exhausted and leaned against a wall, only to find himself suddenly transported over 9,000 miles to Mexico City's Plaza Mayor, now known as Zocalo. Upon his unexpected appearance in Mexico City, Perez, still wearing his uniform, was disoriented and unaware of his surroundings. He was detained by local authorities under suspicion of desertion, possibly being a servant of the devil due to the inexplicable nature of his arrival. His story initially met with skepticism until a ship from the Philippines arrived months later, confirming the assassination of the governor and corroborating Perez's account of his last moments in Manila. Recognized by passengers who had seen him the day before in Manila, his story gained some credence. Despite this, the exact nature of his sudden appearance in Mexico remained unexplained, with some attributing it to supernatural or even paranormal phenomena, such as teleportation or alien intervention. Perez was eventually released and returned to his duties in the Philippines, where he continued his service without further incident. The story, first popularized in historical accounts and folklore compilations from the early 20th century, has been discussed and debated by historians and enthusiasts of the paranormal alike. Notably, the first detailed account appeared significantly after the event supposedly took place, casting doubt on the authenticity of the narrative. However, it remains a popular example of alleged supernatural occurrences in historical records. Tier 3. Scepter of Dagobert. The Scepter of Dagobert, part of the French crown jewels and often regarded as one of their oldest components, has a rich and intriguing history dating back to the 7th century. Crafted during the reign of King Dagobert I, it is attributed to the master goldsmith Saint Eligas, also known as Eloy de Noyon. The scepter, exquisitely made of gold, was a symbol of royal authority, stored in the Basilica of Saint Denis, a site significant for its connection to French royalty and history. The scepter was a complex artifact consisting of a rod, a hand holding the world, and a statuette at the top, which is considered the oldest part of the scepter. The top part of the scepter featured a man seated on a flying eagle, a motif common in apocalyptic imagery of that time, suggesting a form of divine sanction or royal apostasis, common to early medieval regalia. Despite its historical and artistic value, the Scepter of Dagobert was lost during the tumultuous times of the French Revolution. In 1795, it was reported stolen from the Basilica of Saint Denis and has never been recovered. This loss added a layer of mystery and speculation about its whereabouts, contributing to its legend as a lost treasure of France. Agent 355. Agent 355 was a mysterious figure from the American Revolutionary War, believed to be part of the Culper Spy Ring, a secret network that provided information to George Washington. The code 355 was used within the Culper Ring's extensive cipher system, generally referring to a lady. The true identity of Agent 355 has never been definitively confirmed, and much of what is known about her comes from a combination of historical records, speculations, and folklore. The only historical document that explicitly mentions the 355 comes from a coded letter dated August 15, 1779, in which Abraham Woodhull, the chief operator of the Culper Ring, mentioned the assistance of a 355 during his espionage activities in New York. This vague reference has led to various interpretations and theories about her identity and role within the spy network. The most popular theory suggests she might have been Anna Strong, a known associate of the ring who used laundry as signals for spy communications. However, some historians argue that this woman might have been a high society figure with access to British officers rather than a full-time spy. There are also romanticized stories suggesting that Agent 355 was caught by the British, imprisoned on the HMS Jersey, a notorious prison ship, and possibly died there after giving birth to a child, allegedly fathered by a fellow spy. These accounts, however, are largely unsubstantiated by primary historical evidence, and are debated among scholars for their authenticity. The narrative of Agent 355 as a spy was significantly impacted the war effort, including her alleged involvement in exposing Benedict Arnold's treason as to her legendary status, but remains speculative due to the lack of solid historical proof. October 8, 1871 fires. On October 8, 1871, multiple devastating fires occurred across the Midwest, the most famous being the Great Chicago Fire and the Peshtigo Fire in Wisconsin, both of which resulted in significant destruction and loss of life. The Great Chicago Fire ignited in the evening, reportedly starting in a barn owned by Patrick and Catherine O'Leary. Although folklore blames the O'Learys' cow for kicking over a lantern, The story is widely disputed and regarded as fabricated. The fire rapidly spread due to dry conditions and the abundance of wooden buildings, leaving about 300 people dead, destroying over 17,000 structures, and displacing 100,000 residents. Despite the immediate devastation, Chicago quickly undertook rebuilding efforts, spurring significant economic and population growth and leading to its development into a major metropolitan city. Simultaneously, the Peshtigo Fire in Wisconsin, the deadliest wildfire in American history, claimed around 1,200 to 2,400 lives and scorched about 1.5 million acres. It engulfed the town of Peshtigo and surrounded areas without warning. Fueled by severe drought conditions, high winds, and flammable debris from extensive logging activities, the intensity of the fire created its own weather conditions, exacerbating the disaster. In Peshtigo, the catastrophe left a profound mark, with only one building surviving and many victims being buried in mass graves due to the extent of the burns that made it impossible to identify them. Both fires were influenced by similar weather patterns, including a strong wind system that helped spread the flames. The Peshtigo fire in particular demonstrated the dire consequences of poor land and fire management practices prevalent in the 19th century, which contributed to the fire's rapid spread and high mortality rate. Sleepers of Ephesus. The legend of the 7 sleepers of Ephesus is a captivating tale shared across Christian and Islamic traditions, symbolizing the theme of resurrection and a divine intervention. According to the legend, during the reign of the Roman Emperor Decius, around 250 CE, 7 young Christian men sought refuge from persecution in a cave near Ephesus. To escape capture, they fell into a miraculous sleep within the cave. When the cave was finally opened centuries later, during the reign of either Theodosius II around 447 CE or later, the men awoke, believing they had slept for only a day. Their awakening was seen as a sign of the resurrection and a reaffirmation of faith. In Christianity, this story emphasizes the promise of resurrection, which was a powerful motive in early Christian art and literature. It gained widespread popularity through texts like the Gloria Martyrum, and was further embellished in the Golden Legend during the Middle Ages, establishing a specific date for their awakening in 478 AD. In Islamic tradition, the story is mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf, where it serves as a sign of God's power to preserve life. The exact number of sleepers isn't specified in Islamic texts, and the narrative focuses on themes of faith and divine protection over centuries. It also acts as a reminder of the resurrection and the Day of Judgment. The site linked to the sleepers legend, located near Ephesus, became a significant pilgrimage destination, reflecting the story's deep resonance across different cultures and epochs. Prester John. Prester John is a figure shrouded in the midst of medieval legends, symbolizing the Europeans' hopes for a Christian king in the East who could aid in the Crusades against the Muslim world. The legend began to circulate in Europe around the 12th century, with Prester John portrayed as a powerful and multi-Christian monarch whose kingdom was said to be filled with marvelous creatures and vast riches, located somewhere beyond Persia and Armenia. The first significant mention of Prester John is found in the chronicles of Bishop Otto of Freising in 1145. He described a Christian monarch who had defeated Muslim rulers in battle, which sparked European imaginations and hope that this distant Christian king could become an ally. This account, however, was based on confused reports, and there is evidence suggesting that Otto might have conflated different historical figures and events from Asia, including the defeat of the Seljuks by the Kara Kitai under Yelu Dashi, a Buddhist ruler. The myth of Prester John was fueled significantly by a letter that appeared around 1165, supposedly written by Prester John himself. This letter was widely circulated in various languages and described a utopian kingdom rich in gold and populated by fantastic creatures. It claimed that Prester John ruled over a vast realm and maintained a splendid court. However, this letter is now considered a forgery, likely concocted to bolster Christian morale during the Crusades. Despite its dubious origins, the legend had a lasting impact on European exploration and colonialism. It inspired explorers, including the Portuguese, to venture into Asia and Africa from the 15th century onwards, searching for Prester John's kingdom, which they hoped would help in converting Muslims to Christianity and aiding in the fight against Islamic powers. The Portuguese explorers, influenced by this legend, even reached Ethiopia, confusing its Christian monarch with Prester John. Terr. Terr, a Frenchman born in the late 18th century, is remembered for his extraordinary and seemingly insatiable appetite. He could consume vast quantities of food, including items that are not typically considered edible, such as stones and live animals. His condition was not only a source of public fascination, but also of medical interest, as no one could explain his unusual cravings. From an early age, Terrer's appetite was so great that his parents could not support his eating and had to turn him out of their home. He later traveled with a band of thieves and prostitutes before joining a traveling charlatan, for whom he performed by swallowing objects to draw crowds. His eating abilities were so renowned that he could eat meals intended for 15 people or more. Terrer's medical condition puzzled doctors. Despite various examinations and experiments, including eating items like a wooden box with documents inside as part of a military espionage operation, no conclusive explanation was offered for his capabilities. His physical health suffered, characterized by a foul stench and chronic diarrhea, which was noted to be fatigue beyond all conception. During his time with the French army, Terr was unable to satisfy his hunger with standard military rations and was hospitalized due to exhaustion. At the hospital, he was studied extensively. Doctors fed him various items to test his digestive system, only added to his legendary status. Unfortunately, ended tragically in a hospital in Versailles after he succumbed to tuberculosis, marked by severe fever and continuous health deterioration. Count of St Germain. The Count of St Germain is a figure enveloped in mystery and intrigue, with numerous stories accentuating his supposed immortality and myriad talents. His real name and origins are shrouded in obscurity, and he is said to have appeared in European high society in the mid-1700s, captivating many with his wide array of abilities and profound knowledge in various fields including science, alchemy, and the arts. St Germain was also known for his extensive travels throughout Europe, where he frequented royal courts and social circles, always maintaining a youthful appearance despite the passage of years. He claimed to possess the secret to eternal life, fueling legends about his immortality. His skills were diverse. He was an accomplished musician and linguist, fluent in many languages, and his knowledge in the sciences made him a subject of both admiration and skepticism among his contemporaries. Despite his apparent transparency in social settings, St Germain often hinted at a mysterious past. He would speak of historical events as if he had experienced them firsthand and made allusions to his extraordinary longevity. This led to various speculations about his true nature, ranging from being a nobleman with a lost heritage to an eternal being with knowledge beyond conventional understanding. St Germain's death was recorded in 1784. However, sightings and claims of his presence persisted well into subsequent centuries, adding to his enigmatic legacy. His life continues to be a significant point of fascination, inspiring countless stories and theories that blend historical facts with mystic dimensions. His persona is often cited in discussions related to esotericism and the occult, and he remains a pivotal figure in many spiritual and mystical circles today. The Lost Mine of Ofer. The Lost Mine of Ofer, steeped in biblical history, has been a subject of fascination and mystery for centuries. It is famously associated with King Solomon, who reputedly received vast quantities of gold from Ofer, fueling his era's immense wealth. Historical texts, including the Bible, mention the voyages to Ofer took 3 years and returned with gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks, suggesting a land of considerable riches and exotic goods. However, the exact location of Ofer remains undetermined, with theories proposing places as diverse as Africa, the Middle East, and even the Americas. In Africa, Great Zimbabwe and the African shore of the Red Sea are prominent candidates. Great Zimbabwe was a major center for trade in gold during the Renaissance, which some scholars believe could be Ofer. Similarly, the vicinity of the Red Sea, known for its ancient gold mines and trade routes, has been another possible location, linked by some to the Afar region in Ethiopia, known for its Danakil Desert. In Asia, historical connections between the Hebrew Bible and ancient Indian texts have led some to argue that Ofer might be located in India or even further east towards the Philippines, supported by a 16th century Spanish document that outlines a route passing through India and various Southeast Asian islands to a land rich in gold. The Americas have also been considered as a potential location, with some 16th century theories suggesting of Peru or Brazil as Ofer, citing pre-Columbian trans-oceanic contacts. Tier 4. Edward Kelly. Edward Kelly, born in Worcester, England in 5055, emerged as one of the most enigmatic figures of the Renaissance due to his involvement in the occult and alchemy. His life was marked by deep controversies and mystical pursuits, particularly noted for his partnership with the famed scholar and oculist John Dee. Together, they engaged in elaborate spiritual sessions that claimed to involve communication with angels through the art of scrying, a form of crystal gazing that supposedly allowed them to access divine messages. Kelly's early life is shrouded in a mystery, but by the time he met Dee in 1582, he had already gained a dubious reputation. He had been publicly pilloried for forgery in Lancaster, which resulted in the cropping of his ears, a common punishment of the time for such crimes. This background casts a shadow over his subsequent activities, contributing to the skepticism surrounding his claims of supernatural abilities. Despite his controversial past, Kelly's association with Dee elevated his status with historic circles. They traveled extensively across Europe, particularly in Poland and Bohemia, where they attracted the patronage of nobles intrigued by the alchemical promises of transmuting base metals into gold and the prospect of discovering the elixir of life. Kelly's reputation was such that he even convinced Emperor Rudolf II to imprison him under favorable conditions, reflecting both the hope and skepticism that nobility had towards his supposed alchemical powers. Kelly claimed to possess the secret of the Philosopher's Stone, a substance said to grant immortality and turn lead into gold, which made him an influential figure in the courts of Europe despite the lack of evidence of his success in alchemy. His work influenced numerous literacy and historical accounts, embedding him deeply within the fabric of alchemy. His death is believed to have occurred in 1597 or 1598 in Bohemia, under mysterious circumstances. Some accounts suggest that he died from injuries sustained while trying to escape from a castle where he was imprisoned due to his failure to produce gold. Vinta Symbols. The Vinta symbols discovered within the artifacts of the Vinta culture, which thrived in Southeast Europe between 5500 and 4500 BC, remain one of the most perplexing mysteries in archaeology. These symbols found on pottery, figurines, and other items consist of a range of abstract signs and marks. Scholars have debated their purpose and meaning for decades. Some suggest that these symbols might represent the earliest form of proto-writing, predating known writing systems like those of the Sumerians and Egyptians by several millennia. However, the brevity and contact of these inscriptions, often found in burial sites or on ceremonial objects, complicate definitive interpretations. One intriguing theory posits that the symbols were used for the religious or ritualistic purposes. The fact they have been found consistently across various Vinta sites, including those in Serbia, Bulgaria, Romania, and Greece, suggests a widespread cultural or religious practice. The symbols' repetition and placement on items such as altars or figurines hint at a possible role in ritualistic communication or ceremonial offerings. Some anthropologists, like Maria Gimbutas, argue that these symbols could be part of a larger system of sacred signs used to represent vows, requests, or divine messages. Other researchers, however, propose more utilitarian functions. Certain symbols resemble marks found in later cultures used for counting or trading, leading to the hypothesis that the Vinta symbols could have been an early form of record-keeping or property marks. These marks might have denoted ownership, content descriptions, or trade values, especially considering the Vinta culture's extensive trade networks evidenced by the widespread distribution of their artifacts. Adding to the mystery, the symbols have also been linked to potential astronomical or calendrical purposes. Some symbols might correspond to celestial bodies or significant agricultural cycles, aligning with the Vinta people's advanced understanding of agriculture and their dependency on seasonal changes. This theory is bolstered by the symbol's systematic and repetitive nature, which might reflect a structured system of timekeeping or celestial observation. The symbol's geological spread and the enduring consistency of their use over centuries further mystify their origin and significance. Found at numerous archaeological sites across the Balkans, from Vinta Belo Brodo near Belgrade to other sites in modern-day Serbia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria, these symbols suggest a remarkable level of cultural coherence and communication over vast distances and long periods. Lost Army of Cambyses. The Lost Army of Cambyses is one of the ancient history's most enduring mysteries. According to historical accounts, particularly by the Greek historian Herodotus, the Persian king Cambyses II sent an army of 50,000 soldiers to the Siwa oasis in Egypt around 524 BC to subdue the rebellious oracle of Amun. The army embarked on this mission across the harsh and expansive western desert. However, they never reached their destination and vanished without a trace, leading to numerous theories and speculations about their fate. Herodotus' account suggests that the army was engulfed by a massive sandstorm, which buried the soldiers and left no evidence of their passage. This explanation, while dramatic, has been met with skepticism over the years. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, this tale of a powerful army being swallowed by the desert has captured the imaginations of historians and archaeologists alike. In modern times, several expeditions have sought to uncover the fate of Cambyses' army. In the summer of 2000, a geological team from Helwan University discovered well-preserved fragments of textiles, bits of metal resembling weapons, and human remains in Egypt's western desert. These findings suggest they might belong to a lost army, sparking renewed interest and further investigations. Further claims were made in 2009 by Italian archaeologist Angelo and Alfredo Castiglione, who announced the discovery of human remains, tools, and weapons near the Siwa oasis. They proposed that these artifacts dated back to the era of Cambyses II, aligning with Herodotus' story. However, their findings were controversial and faced criticism for not being published in scientific journals, casting doubt on their legitimacy. An alternative theory was proposed by Egyptologist Olaf Kaper of Leiden University in 2014. He suggested that the army was not lost to a sandstorm, but rather ambushed and defeated by the Egyptian rebel leader Hetubastis III. According to Kaper, Cambyses' successor Darius I may have fabricated the sandstorm story to erase the memory of this defeat and consolidate his rule over Egypt. Nitocris. Nitocris, whose historical existence remains a subject of debate, is believed to have been a queen of Egypt at the end of the 6th dynasty, around 2181 BCE. According to the ancient Greek historian Herodotus and the 3rd century BCE Egyptian historian Manetho, Nitocris was the last monarch of the Old Kingdom. Herodotus tells a vivid and dramatic story about Nitocris, portraying her as a vengeful and cunning ruler. He claims that she avenged the murder of her brother, the king, by inviting his assassins to a banquet in an underground hall and then flooding the chamber with the Nile, drowning all the guests. After exacting her revenge, she reportedly committed suicide to avoid retribution. The authenticity of Herodotus' account is disputed, as no contemporary Egyptian records mention Nitocris. The name Nitocris appears in various historical sources, but often these references are inconsistent and surrounded by myth. Some scholars suggest that Nitocris might have been a regent or a queen consort rather than a ruling pharaoh. The Turin king list, an ancient Egyptian papyrus, lists a pharaoh named Necherkare or Nitocris. This could be a scribal error or a misinterpretation. The period in which Nitocris supposedly ruled was marked by a great turmoil and eventual collapse of the Old Kingdom. This era, known as the First Intermediate Period, was characterized by political fragmentation, social upheaval, and widespread famine, attributed to climate change and the resulting failure of the Nile floods. These catastrophic conditions led to a rapid succession of the short-reign pharaohs, contributing to the confusion and scarcity of reliable historical records from this time. Q source. The Q source, also known as the Q document or simply Q, is a hypothetical written collection of Jesus' sayings believed to be a common source for the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. The source is posited by biblical scholars to account for the material shared by these two Gospels but absent in the Gospel of Mark, suggesting that both Matthew and Luke drew from a common text in addition to the Gospel of Mark. The term Q comes from the German word Quelle, meaning source. The existence of Q is one of the central issues in the study of the Synoptic Gospels, which are the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. These Gospels share a considerable amount of content, often in similar sequence and wording, leading to scholars to investigate their literacy and relationships. The two-source hypothesis, the most widely accepted solution, posits that Mark was written first and used as a source by both Matthew and Luke. However, to explain the similarities between Matthew and Luke that do not appear in Mark, scholars theorize the existence of a second source, Q. Q is thought to have been composed primarily of sayings attributed to Jesus, rather than the narrative accounts of his life. This includes teachings, parables, and aphorisms that emphasize the kingdom of God, ethical conduct, and astrological warnings. Despite its hypothesized importance, no physical copy of Q has ever been found, making it one of the most tantalizing mysteries in biblical scholarship. The content reconstructed from Q is primarily derived from passages common to Matthew and Luke, but absent in Mark, such as the Lord's Prayer and the Beatitudes. Some scholars argue that Q might have been written in Greek, given the linguistic features of the shared material. The notion of Q has been supported by textual analysis, which shows that the shared material between Matthew and Luke often reflects a more primitive form of Jesus' sayings than what is found in either gospel independently, suggesting that both authors might have been drawing from an earlier source. There are also various theories about the origins and authorship of Q. Some propose that it could have originated from a community of earlier Christians who preserved the circulated Jesus' sayings. This community might have been located in Galilee or Syria, regions known for early Christian activity. The hypothetical nature of Q, along with its proposed contents, paints a picture of an early Christian tradition focused on the teachings of Jesus rather than the events of his life. Tiny Demon in 17th Century Glass. The legend of the tiny demon in 17th century glass is a captivating historical mystery. This small artifact, currently housed in the Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna, is said to contain a tiny demon encased in a prism of glass. The story began in the early 1600s, during a time when belief in the supernatural was widespread, and exorcisms were a common practice to rid individuals of evil spirits. According to historical records, this particular demon was supposedly trapped during an exorcism in Germany, and sealed within the glass prism as a means of containment and proof of the exorcist's success. The artifact first appeared in the collection of Archduke Leopold Wilhelm in 1659, a notable collector of curiosities and artworks. By 1720, it was recorded in the Imperial Treasury of Vienna, described as a spiritus familiaris in a glass, perpetually driven out of a possessed person and imprisoned in the glass. This item was considered both a powerful testament to the efficacy of exorcism and a macabre curiosity. Its presence in such a prestigious collection underscores the fascination and fear surrounding the demonic possession and the supernatural during this period. The glass prism itself is small and unamusing, but the black figure inside, shaped like a demon, is what draws attention and speculation. The belief in its supernatural origin adds an eerie dimension to the artifact, making it a subject of interest not only for historians, but also for those intrigued by the paranormal. The tale of the tiny demon reflects broader 17th century European beliefs in demons and exorcism, illustrating how these beliefs were intertwined with daily life and cultural practices. Throughout the years, the tiny demon in glass has been the subject of various interpretations and legends. Some believe it to be a genuine supernatural entity, while others view it as a clever hoax or a misunderstood historical artifact. The lack of definitive scientific examination leaves its true nature open to speculation, further enhancing its mysterious allure. The artifact remains a poignant reminder of a time when the line between natural and supernatural was blurred, and when objects like this were seen as tangible evidence of the unseen world. Jesus in Japan Mystery. The legend of Jesus in Japan is a captivating historical mystery centered around the village of Shingo in Aomori Prefecture. According to this unusual tale, Jesus did not die on the cross in Jerusalem, but instead traveled to Japan, where he lived out the remainder of his life. This legend suggests that Jesus, known locally as Daitenku Taro Jirai, arrived in Japan at the age of 21 to study theology and spiritual practices. During his time in Japan, he is said to have learned the local customs and language under the guidance of a master near Mount Fuji. At 33, he returned to Judea but escaped crucifixion by swapping places with his younger brother Isukiri, who was crucified in his stead. Jesus then fled across Serbia and Alaska, ultimately settling in Shingu. In Shingu, Jesus is believed to have married a local woman named Miyuku, with whom he had 3 daughters, and lived as a rice farmer until his death at the age of 106. His final resting place is marked by a simple mound topped with a cross, alongside a similar mound said to contain the remains of his brother and a lock of the Virgin Mary's hair. The legend is supported by the Teikunuchi documents, a set of controversial and largely discredited texts allegedly discovered by a Shinu priest in the 1930s. These documents, along with a will attributed to Jesus, are displayed in the displayed in the Village of Christ Legend Museum in Xingu. The story is further enriched by unique local customs that some claim reflect ancient Jewish traditions. For instance, villagers historically wore robes reminiscent of biblical garments, and newborns were marked with charcoal crosses on their foreheads. Additionally, certain local dialect words are said to resemble Hebrew more closely than Japanese, adding another layer of intrigue to the tale. Despite the lack of historical or archaeological evidence to support these claims, the legend has become an integral part of Xingu's culture heritage. Each year, the village hosts a Kirisotu Matsuri, or Christ Festival, which includes traditional Shinto ceremonies, dances, and prayers performed around the supposed gravesite of Jesus. The festival and legend itself have drawn both pilgrims and curious tourists, contributing to Xingu's local economy and cultural identity. This blending of folklore, religious symbolism, and community tradition exemplifies Japan's syncretic approach to religion, where elements from various beliefs are integrated and celebrated harmoniously. Vimana. The concept of Vimana, ancient flying machines, is deeply embedded in Hindu mythology and ancient Indian texts. These mysterious aircraft are described in various ancient scriptures such as the Vedas, the Mahabharata, and the Ramayana, dating back as far as 1500 BCE. The word Vimana itself translates to measuring out or traversing, and these flying machines are often depicted as advanced vehicles capable of aerial and even interstellar travel. The most notable mention of Vimana comes from the epic Ramayana, which details the story of the divine prince Rama and his aerial vehicle, the Pushpaka Vimana. This Vimana is described as a flying palace that could move according to the will of its pilot, capable of traveling vast distances and possessing features like cloaking, hovering, and incredible speeds. Other ancient texts, such as the Mahabharata, describe Vimana as formidable war machines equipped with advanced weaponry, suggesting a highly sophisticated technology far beyond the capabilities of the time. The construction and operation of Vimana are detailed in ancient Sanskrit texts, such as the Vaimanika Shastra, which is said to have been dedicated by the sage Bharadwaja. This text outlines the materials and technologies required to build these machines, including metals, mirrors, and complex propulsion systems that allegedly use solar energy and mercury vapor. Some descriptions even hint at anti-gravitational technology, allowing Vimana to perform maneuvers such as vertical ascents and descents and moving in all directions. In addition to their technological marvels, Vimana also play a significant role in ancient warfare and mythology. They are depicted as vehicles of gods and heroes, used in epic battles and journeys to other realms. The advanced nature of these machines has led to various theories about their origins, including the possibility of extraterrestrial influence or the existence of an advanced ancient civilization that possessed knowledge of aerospace technology. Modern interpretations and explorations of Vimana often venture into the realms of science fiction and ancient astronaut theories. Some researchers propose that these descriptions could be evidence of ancient advanced technology or alien visitors. This idea is further fueled by a report of ancient Sanskrit documents discovered in Lhasa, Tibet, that allegedly contain blueprints for constructing interstellar spaceships. Tier 5. What happened to Anfim? Anfim, a young boy living in Novgorod around 1220 CE, has become a significant figure in the study of medieval Slavonic literacy due to his remarkable birch bark writings and drawings. His works were discovered during excavations in the Soviet era, revealing a treasure trove of everyday life documented on birch bark, which was the paper of the time. These birch bark documents, known as grammiti, include a mix of personal notes, financial records, and, most intriguingly, the doodles and writings of Anfim. Anfim's drawings provide a fascinating glimpse into the mind of a young boy from the medieval period. His sketches include depictions of himself as a warrior, complete with a sword and shield, and fantastical creatures, indicating a rich imagination and a desire to capture the world around him in vivid detail. One notable doodle shows Anfim declaring, "I am a wild beast," alongside a picture of himself as a fierce creature. This playful self-representation offers a rare and intimate view of childhood in a time far removed from our own. The drawings also include more mundane scenes such as images of his parents and other family members, reflecting his daily life and relationships. These illustrations are not only charming but also serve as valuable historical records, providing insights into the clothing, activities, and social structures of Novgorod in the 13th century. Anpim's written texts are equally revealing. They include simple exercises such as practicing the alphabet and writing sentences, which illustrate the educational method of the time. His writings, though basic, are crucial for understanding the literacy levels and educational practices among young children in medieval Novgorod. The discovery of Anpim's birch bark documents has greatly enriched our understanding of medieval Slavic culture, highlighting the everyday experiences of ordinary people rather than just the elite or religious figures typically represented in historical records. These documents are preserved in the State of Historical Museum in Moscow, where they continue to be studied and admired for their unique contribution to the historical narrative of the region. The Civatherium of Kish. The Civatherium of Kish is a captivating artifact discovered in the ancient Sumerian city of Kish, located in present-day Iraq. This remarkable find dates back to the early dynastic first period, 2800 to 2750 BCE, and consists of a copper alloy figurine that depicts a quadrupedal mammal with branched horns, a nose ring, and a rope tied to the ring. The intricate detailing of the horns and body has led to a fascinating debate about the identity of the creature represented. Some scholars like Edwin Colbert suggest that this figure depicts a late surviving Civatherium, an extinct giraffid that once roamed North Africa and India during the Pleistocene epoch. The Civatherium, characterized by its moose-like build and unique double antlers, was thought to have gone extinct early in the Holocene period, making its presence in Sumerian art particularly intriguing. The hypothesis that the Sumerians might have encountered and possibly even domesticated such a creature challenges our understanding of prehistoric fauna and human-animal interactions. The detailed representation of the animal on the ring, especially the anatomical accuracy of the horns and body, suggests the artist had seen the creature firsthand. This notion is further supported by the discovery in 1977 of additional elements of the ring, including the broken off tips of the horn, which were found to fit perfectly with the original artifact. However, this interpretation is not without its skeptics. Other researchers, including Henry Field and Berthold Laufer, argue that the figurine represents a captive Persian fallow deer rather than a Civatherium. They suggest that the antlers were misidentified and that the creature depicted is more likely to be a common animal of the region rather than an extinct prehistoric species. Adding to the complexity of this debate is the environmental context of ancient Kish. Situated in the fertile plains of Mesopotamia, Kish was part of the region known as the Fertile Crescent, which was much greener and more hospitable 5 millennia ago compared to its arid condition today. This fertile environment could have supported diverse wildlife, including potentially rare or isolated populations of large mammals. White Shaman. White Shaman is an important archaeological site in Texas, specifically in the Lower Pecos Canyon lands, known for its elaborate rock art. This site features a striking and mysterious series of paintings that date back thousands of years. Among these, the most famous is the White Shaman panel, which stands out for its complex and enigmatic imagery. The panel depicts a figure with a white body surrounded by other symbols and figures, which some interpret as a part of a ritualistic or religious practice. The painting's meaning is still debated among scholars, as it might represent spiritual beliefs, ceremonial practices, or a form of storytelling. One of the intriguing aspects of White Shaman is the way its art integrates different symbols and motifs that hint at a sophisticated understanding of cosmology and mythology. The white figure itself is often thought to be a shaman or a spiritual leader central to the community's spiritual belief. Surrounding the central figure are various other elements such as snakes, abstract shapes, and anthropomorphic figures which might symbolize different gods, spirits, or mythological events. Archaeologists and historians have speculated that the artwork might have been a part of a larger ceremonial complex used by the ancient inhabitants of the region. The site's remote location in the canyons, combined with high quality and detail of the art, suggests that it held significant cultural and religious importance. There are also theories that the art could have been a form of communication or record keeping, capturing important historical or mythological events for future generations. Moreover, White Shaman's art shares similarities with other rock art sites in the region, indicating that the cultural practices and beliefs of these ancient peoples were widespread and interconnected. However, the exact nature of these connections and the full meaning of the White Shaman panel remain subjects of ongoing research and debate. Some researchers are even exploring the idea that the site could be linked to the astronomical events or cycles, adding another layer of mystery to its significance. Jumping Frenchman of Maine. The Jumping Frenchman of Maine is a historical and medical mystery that has fascinated researchers and historians. This condition, first observed in the late 19th century in the rural areas of Maine, involved a unique and puzzling set of symptoms among French-Canadian lumberjacks and their families. The most notable symptom was an uncontrollable tendency to jump or startle in response to sudden stimuli, such as loud noises or unexpected movements. This peculiar reaction was often accompanied by other involuntary movements, such as twitching, jerking, and mimicking others' actions, which added to the mystery of the condition. The term jumping Frenchman was coined by a physician named George Miller Beard, who documented these cases in his medical reports. Beard and other researchers observed that the condition seemed to be more prevalent in certain isolated communities in Maine and was characterized by extreme sensitivity to external stimuli. This led to the hypothesis that the disorder might have been influenced by cultural or environmental factors specific to the French-Canadian population in that region. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Jumping Frenchman of Maine is its potential link to the cultural practices and social environment of the French-Canadian lumberjacks. Some theories suggest that the condition might have been related to the intense and stressful working conditions in its logging camps, where sudden loud noises and physical demands were common. Others speculate that the condition could be connected to the cultural traditions and social dynamics of the French-Canadian communities, which might have influenced the manifestation of these symptoms. The condition eventually faded from medical records, and by the early 20th century, cases of jumping Frenchmen became increasingly rare. Researchers have debated the possible causes, including psychological factors, neurological conditions, or even social and environmental influences. Some have suggested that the disorder might have been a form of mass hysteria, or a collective reaction to the stressful environment of the logging camps. Woodhenge. Woodhenge is an ancient and intriguing archaeological site located near Cahokia Mounds in Illinois, United States. It is named for its similarity to Stonehenge in England, though instead of stone, Woodhenge was constructed using large wooden posts. The site was part of the larger Cahokia complex, which was a major pre-Columbian urban center inhabited by the Mississippian culture between AD 1050 and 1350. Woodhenge was discovered in the 1960s through archaeological excavations that revealed a series of large, circular arrangements of post holes. These post holes marked where towering wooden posts once stood. Archaeologists believe that these wooden posts, which were set up in a circle, might have been used for ceremonial or astronomical purposes. The arrangement of the posts suggests that the structure may have been used to track the movements of the sun, moon, and possibly even the stars. This would have allowed the people of Cahokia to create a calendar and align their ceremonies with celestial events. One of the most fascinating features of Woodhenge is its alignment with the solstices and equinoxes. Positions of the posts seem to correspond with the rising and setting positions of the sun during these significant times of the year. This alignment indicates that the Mississippian people had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and were able to incorporate this knowledge into their architectural designs. The exact purposes of these alignments are still debated, but they likely played a role in religious ceremonies and agricultural planning. The site originally had several phases of construction, with different circles of posts being erected and rebuilt over time. This suggests that Woodhenge was an important and evolving part of the Cahokian religious and social life. The largest of these wooden circles had a diameter of about 110 meters and was surrounded by smaller circular posts. The precise arrangement and number of posts changed in each phase, indicating that the structure might have been modified to reflect new understandings or practices. Tier 6. Clovis culture. The Clovis culture is a significant prehistoric culture in North America, named after the town of Clovis, New Mexico, where distinctive stone tools were first discovered in the 1930s. This culture, which dates back to around 13,000 years ago, is known for its distinctive projectile points, large fluted spearheads made of stone. These points are found throughout much of North America, from the southeastern United States to as far north as Canada. indicating that the Clovis people were widespread and highly mobile hunter-gatherers. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Clovis culture is its association with the end of the last ice age and the megafauna extinction. Clovis people are often linked to the hunting of large animals like mammoths, mastodons, and giant ground sloths. Evidence such as butchered animal bones and Clovis spear points found at kill sites suggests that these early humans played a role in the decline of these massive creatures. The exact cause of the megafauna extinction is still debated, with theories ranging from overhunting by Clovis people to dramatic climate changes. The Clovis people were skilled tool makers and created a variety of stone tools beyond the famous projectile points. They used techniques such as fluting, where they would remove a thin shallow flake from the inside of the stone point to create sharp, efficient edges. These tools were essential for hunting and butchering game, as well as for other daily tasks. Another fascinating aspect of the Clovis culture is the mystery surrounding their sudden disappearance. Around 12,900 years ago, there appears to be a rapid end to the Clovis culture, with fewer and fewer Clovis points being found in the archaeological record after this time. Some researchers suggest that this might have been due to environmental changes like the Younger Dryas, a sudden and intense cold period, or shifts in the availability of game animals. Others propose that the Clovis people gradually evolved into other cultural groups, leading to what is now known as the Archaic period. Additionally, the discovery of Clovis sites in different regions has led to debates about their origins and migration patterns. Some theories suggest that Clovis people might have migrated from Siberia across a land bridge that once connected Asia and North America, while others propose more complex migration routes and intersections with other prehistoric cultures. Hanging coffins in China mystery. The hanging coffins of China are a remarkable and mysterious phenomenon found in several regions, including the cliffs of the Bozu district in Anhui province and along the steep riverbanks of the Yangtze River. These coffins, dating back over 2,000 years ago, are placed in wooden or bamboo containers and suspended high above the ground on cliff faces or in natural rock alcoves. They are most famously associated with the ancient Bo people, a culture whose exact origins and practices are still not fully understood. The method of hanging these coffins involves placing them in precarious locations, often by using wooden poles or ropes to lift them into position. The coffins are sometimes positioned in niches or platforms carved into the cliffs, making their placement both impressive and challenging to access. The purpose behind this burial practice remains a topic of scholarly debate. One theory is that it was meant to protect the deceased from wild animals or floods, while another suggests it might have been a way to honor the dead by elevating them closer to the heavens. The construction and placement of these coffins show a high level of ingenuity and skill. The coffins themselves are often made from solid wood or bamboo and are intricately crafted with complex joinery techniques. Some have been found to contain additional artifacts such as pottery, weapons, and ornaments, providing clues about the people who used them and their cultural practices. However, due to their inaccessibility, many of these coffins have been poorly preserved, making it difficult for archaeologists to study them in detail. One of the most intriguing aspects of the hanging coffins is the mystery surrounding the people who created them. The Bo people, who are believed to be the primary users of these coffins, left behind few written records. This lack of historical documentation adds to the enigma of their practices and beliefs. Additionally, there are various theories about the reasons for choosing such a precarious burial method, ranging from spiritual beliefs to practical considerations related to their environment. The hanging coffins have also become a symbol of the broader mystery of ancient Chinese civilizations, as they challenge our understanding of early funerary practices and social structures. While some believe the tradition was unique to the Bo people, others speculate that similar practices may have occurred in other cultures or regions of ancient China. Ancient levitation. Ancient levitation is a fascinating and enigmatic topic that delves into the stories and beliefs of various cultures regarding the ability to lift objects or even people off the ground through supernatural or unexplained means. One of the earliest and most notable references to levitation comes from the ancient Indian text, particularly in Hindu and Buddhist traditions. These texts describe yogis and spiritual masters performing miraculous feats, including levitation, as a sign of their advanced spiritual power and control over the physical world. For instance, the ancient Indian sage Mantaga is said to have performed feats of levitation through deep meditation and spiritual practices. In ancient Egypt, the construction of monumental structures like the pyramids has led to speculation about the use of levitation. Some theories suggest that the Egyptians might have used advanced technology or hidden knowledge to lift massive stone blocks into place. Although no concrete evidence supports these claims, ancient texts and drawings often depict gods and pharaohs in elevated positions, which some interpret as symbolic representations of divine power rather than literal levitation. Similarly, in ancient China, there are accounts of Taoist priests and alchemists claiming to have achieved levitation. The Taoist practice of flying was often described in mystical terms and associated with attaining spiritual enlightenment or immortality. These accounts typically involve highly disciplined spiritual practices, such as meditation and internal energy cultivation, believed to allow practitioners to transcend physical limitations. Another intriguing aspect of ancient levitation is its appearance in various legends and myths across different cultures. In medieval European folklore, there are tales of saints and holy figures who could levitate during prayer or religious ceremonies. These stories were often used to demonstrate the divine favor and miraculous powers of these individuals. Similarly, in South American cultures, ancient legends sometimes describe shamans or priests who could lift themselves into the air or make objects float, often linked to their spiritual or magical practices. While these accounts are rich in cultural and historical significance, there is no scientific evidence to confirm the reality of ancient levitation as described in these texts and stories. Most modern scholars view these accounts as symbolic or metaphorical rather than literal descriptions of physical phenomena. However, the persistence of levitation stories across diverse cultures highlights their importance in human history and belief systems. Lost Roman Legion in China. The Lost Roman Legion in China centers around a fascinating historical account that dates back to the Han Dynasty and involves a Roman military unit possibly reaching the Far East. According to ancient texts and historical records, during the 1st century AD, a Roman legion known as the Lost Legion is believed to have ventured far beyond the Roman Empire's boundaries into China. This story is derived from a combination of historical accounts, legends, and some archaeological findings. The most prominent source for this tale comes from the Chinese historical text, the Hao Han Shu, Book of the Later Han, written by the historian Fan Ye. This text describes an encounter between the Chinese Han Dynasty and a group of Western people who arrived with Roman-like equipment and military attire. The description includes their use of Roman-style weapons and armor, which suggests they were from Roman Empire. These Westerners were reportedly captured after a battle and were later incorporated into the Chinese army, serving as mercenaries. Adding to the mystery, a legend known as the Lost Legion of the Han Dynasty tells of a Roman force that was defeated and captured by the Han Dynasty during a conflict on the Silk Road. According to this legend, the survivors were absorbed into the Chinese society and eventually assimilated. Some historical scholars and enthusiasts have speculated that this legion might have been a part of a larger Roman military campaign that became stranded in Central Asia and eventually reached China. Archaeological evidence supporting the Lost Roman Legion theory is sparse, but intriguing. In the 1990s, excavations in the Xinjiang region of China uncovered artifacts resembling Roman military gear, such as coins and pottery with Roman inscriptions. These findings suggest that there was some form of contact between the Roman Empire and the far eastern regions of China, though the direct connection to a Roman legion remains speculative. The idea of a Roman legion reaching China also fits into the broader context of ancient trade and exploration. The Silk Road was a major trade route connecting the East and West, facilitating cultural and material exchanges between distant civilizations. The Roman Empire and Han China had indirect contact through this trade network, which might explain the presence of Roman artifacts in Chinese territories. White Woman of Gippsland. The story of the White Woman of Gippsland is a captivating and mysterious episode in Australian history. This tale originates from the Gippsland region and southeastern Victoria, Australia, and centers around an enigmatic figure reported to be a white woman living among the Aboriginal people of the area in the 19th century. The most prominent account begins in the 1840s when settlers and explorers started hearing about a white woman who was reportedly living with the local Gunai Kurnai people. According to various reports and Aboriginal oral histories, this woman was described as having lived with the Gunai for several years, having adapted to their way of life and even marrying an Aboriginal man. Her existence was a matter of significant curiosity and speculation, as her story was often seen as a blend of legend and fact. The first documented report of the white woman emerged when European settlers encountered Aboriginal groups in Gippsland and heard stories about her. These reports were sometimes vague and inconsistent, adding to the mystery surrounding her identity and circumstances. Some versions of the story suggest that she might have been a settler or an escaped convict who fled into the bush and chose to live with the Aboriginal people. However, there was no concrete evidence to confirm her exact background or reasons for her disappearance from European records. In the 1860s, a more detailed account appeared when an Aboriginal man named Wandu, who was reportedly her husband, was interviewed. Wandu spoke of the woman and her life with the Gunai people, describing her as someone who had integrated fully into their society. This account added a layer of authenticity to the story, but also raised questions about how much of it was influenced by cultural misunderstandings, or the blending of European and Aboriginal narratives. Interest in the white woman of Gippsland grew as more settlers and explorers became fascinated by the tale. Some researchers speculated that her story might be linked to other known cases of white people living among Aboriginal communities, but no concrete evidence ever confirmed her true identity. The lack of solid records and the reliance on oral histories contributed to the enduring mystery surrounding her. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what you thought about the video.